Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell the truth about silver. Today is Monday the 9th of December 2019, and we're going to talk about digital currencies and perhaps more importantly, how, if China launches its own digital currency, it has the prospect of completely undermining US dollar hegemony. So let's investigate. Now, before we cover this topic in some depth, we wish to remind viewers and subscribers that we produced a number of videos over the weekend and are aware, because we're coming up to Christmas, many will not have seen them due to Christmas shopping and other activities. So we've listed these at the top of the description box below, and they consist of the following titles: Tips on how to buy gold and silver cheaply, Brexit, rats and balls, Bloomberg agrees with Illuminati silver, no Fed rate cut this week, is it time to forget bonds, and where will the funds go, and our gold and silver weekly update for the weekend in the 6th of December. Now we hope you enjoy them, and especially the tips on how to buy gold and silver cheaply. Anyway, back to today's theme. Now we are writing this at 800 hours GMT, but it won't be published until midday, so it will be some 4 hours out of date. So some of the prices we mention may and probably will have changed by then. Now gold is currently standing at $1,462 and silver at $16.62, both slightly up this morning. But listeners to this channel know that although we publish weekly forecasts and look at factors which affect gold and silver prices short term, we are mainly concerned with the longer term. This is why often we can be quite bearish precious metals, while at the same time advocate their purchase, because fundamentally we have been broadly bearish, or we would like to call it realistic short term, but long-term are quite bullish. Again, we believe realistic. You see, there are a number of factors which will affect or act as a tailwind behind gold and silver in the longer term. And over the course of the coming weeks, we will cover these. Today's factor is the potential impact on the US dollar as the result of a potential Chinese cryptocurrency or digital currency being introduced. Now, what we're about to read to you is an article in this month's edition of Financial World magazine, a publication which bankers, past and present, receive as long as they remain members of the London Institute of Banking and Finance, which we are. Now, the reason this article is important is because it is written by what some may term insiders for insiders, and it issues a caution to America that it needs to wake up and compete for dominance in digital payments. Otherwise, it will find that by avoiding this simple process, it will undermine the importance and usage of its own currency, the United States dollar. So, we shall now read the article. Please bear with us. It is a little long, but this is an important article nevertheless. Money, but Not As We Know It, by David Birch, Director of the Secure Electronic Transactions Consultancy Consult Hyperion, and a visiting lecturer at the University of Surrey. David is an internationally recognized thought leader in digital identity and digital money. One of the Wired magazine's top 15 global sources of business information and a CSFI research fellow. So, heading of his article, published this month in Financial World, the exclusive magazine for bankers, entitled Money, but Not As We Know It. David Birch says The US dollar's dominance in the global monetary system will come under serious threat if China's central bank issues its own digital currency. Quote, "The way that money works now is essentially a blip. It is not a law of nature. It is a temporary institutional arrangement, and it must necessarily change as technology, business, and societies change. Many people think it's about to change right now. In fact, as we come to the end of the current era of international monetary arrangements. As The Economist observed recently, it is not clear what is coming after this Bretton Woods II era." These sentiments are not restricted to technological determinists of my ilk. As the former governor of the Bank of England's Mervyn King wrote in his book, The End of Alchemy, quote, "Although central banks have matured, they have not yet reached old age. But their extinction cannot be ruled out altogether. Societies were managed without central banks in the past," unquote. If central banks will no longer have a monopoly on the creation of currencies in the always-on interconnected world in which we are now living, who might issue digital currency in the future? I set out a 5 C's framework for thinking about this in my book, Before Babylon, Beyond Bitcoin, where I examined the potential approaches of commercial banks, central banks, companies, cryptography, and communities. That's the 5 C's. Commercial banks, central banks, companies, cryptography, and communities. This framework may have seemed to some readers a trifle speculative, to say the least. Yet Mark Carney, the Bank of England governor, recently gave a speech in the United States at Jackson Hole, Wyoming, in which he said that a form of global digital currency could be the answer to the destabilizing dominance of the United States dollar in today's global monetary system. The problem he is alluding to is the dollar's global electronic hegemony, which made sense after the Second World War, as the Wall Street Journal noted, because then US trade was 28% of global exports. Now it is only 9%, according to the IMF, yet the dollar still dominates. Carney went on to talk about the international monetary and financial system using some kind of synthetic hegemonic currency instead. That is a big deal because it means that the proportion of the world's financial transactions stop being dollar denominated and the demand for dollars falls. As Robert Kaplan, president of the Dallas Federal Reserve, said recently, "The dollar may not be the world's reserve currency forever, and if that changes and you tack on 100 basis points to $20 trillion, that's $200 billion a year, and all of a sudden we've got a tremendous problem." A globally accepted SHC in the form of digital cash denominated in a synthetic unit of account sounds a little like Facebook's much discussed Libra. While Libra dominates the headlines now, it will undoubtedly be only the first of many attempts to create a global digital currency. The historian Niall Ferguson stated plainly in the Sunday Times that, quote, "If America is smart, it will wake up and start competing for dominance in digital payments," unquote. He is concerned about hegemony and argues that a good way for the US to rival Chinese initiatives such as Alibaba and Tencent is to support Libra, an argument repeated by David Marcus, the head of Libra. At present, Alipay and WeChat wallets store renminbi, exchanged in and out of bank accounts, but, as the People's Bank of China has made clear in recent pronouncements, these will soon store the DCEP, digital currency, and electronic payment version, the Chinese digital currency. From a payments perspective alone, Libra seems a little underwhelming. I think that a frictionless Facebook payment system would be beneficial, and I stand by that. As a community currency, In the 5Cs categorization, Libra means the ability to send money around on the internet. This will be useful to the Facebook, WhatsApp and Instagram crowds, and there are all sorts of new products and services that it might support. But a currency has more far-reaching implications. What if, for example, the inhabitants of some countries abandon their failing inflationary fiat currency and begin to use Libra instead, as some of them use the dollar now? The ability of central banks to manage the economy would then surely be subverted, and this must have political implications. It's not surprising then that both the International Financial Stability Board and the UK's Financial Conduct Authority have said they will not allow the world's largest social network to launch its planned digital currency without close scrutiny. It was noticeable, incidentally, that when the Libra Association launched in Geneva in October 2018, the membership did not include most of the payment organisations that had been identified in initial discussions, such as PayPal and Visa, but did include the organisations that are users of payments such as Uber and Spotify. While Libra is still due to go live in 2020, many industry observers are already saying that it may never launch in its current form. Indeed, David Marcus, head of the Libra project, has said recently that they may not use SHCs at all, but digital fiat currencies. So let us switch attention to what is, in my opinion, the most important current initiative in the world of digital fiat. The PBOC, People's Bank of China, has been looking at digital currency strategy to replace cash for some years. 3 years ago, the then governor of the bank clearly set out its thinking about digital currency, saying that it should be issued by the central bank. He went on to state that he had plans for how to gradually phase out paper money. What would be the impact of phasing out paper money? Yao Quan from the PBOC Technology Department wrote on this subject in 2017, noting that digital currency would have consequences for commercial banks, so that it might be better to keep those banks as part of the new monetary arrangement. He described what has been called the two-tier approach, noting that to offset the shock to the current banking system imposed by an independent digital currency system, and to protect the investment made by commercial banks in infrastructure, it is possible to incorporate digital currency wallets attributes into the existing commercial bank account system, so that electronic currency and digital currency are managed under the same account. A Chinese digital currency is a big, big deal. If the Alipay and WeChat wallets become widely used by a couple of billion people, starting with those along the Belt and Road trading corridors, they may well begin by using their own currencies, but will pretty soon shift to the digital renminbi if it does indeed offer speed, convenience, and person-to-person transfers. A trader in Africa may soon find it more than a little convenient to order goods from a Chinese partner via WeChat and settle instantly with their Chinese digital currency, or, to be fair, Libra or something similar, and then they will soon find themselves accepting the same in payment. This is not necessarily a bad thing for some countries. In an interesting recent paper on this topic, Max Raskin, Fahad Saleh, and David Yermak highlight the potential for private digital currencies to improve welfare within an emerging market with a selfish government. Along the Belt and Road trading corridors, then, not only might digital currency be acceptable, it might be highly beneficial. We could see a new Cold War with Calibra, the digital wallet for Libra, facing off against Nick Ogden's RTGS Global Interbank Liquidity Network Initiative, facing off against Alipay on the one hand, but more importantly, the renminbi facing off with the US dollar, facing off with Facebucks on the other hand. It is a phony war for now, with the next generation of digital currencies announced, but not yet in situ. But make No mistake about it. There are important battles to come. Replacing the existing IMFs with one based on digital currency means no clearing and settlement, which means no transactions going through the international banking system, which means that the US's ability to deliver soft power through the IMFS disappears. This means that the virtual money debate is no longer about hash functions, but about hegemony. Whether you think it is a good thing or not, the dollar's dominance gives the United States the ability to use the international payment system as an arm of its foreign policy. This is an ability that other countries have found, as Ferguson puts it, quote, increasingly irksome, unquote. Well, perhaps not for much longer. Yes, a long article, it is true, but the author who penned it is about as senior and experienced as one can get in this field. He makes clear that the dollar's dominance gives the United States the ability to use the international payment systems as an arm of its foreign policy, which annoys many parts of the world. And so he aptly makes the comment, quote, if America is smart, it will wake up and start competing for dominance in digital payments, unquote. We agree with him, though also accept that there are other factors at work too. What do you think? Do share your thoughts. And as a reminder, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do so and press the bell sign so that you're notified of videos and podcasts as and when they are published. Thank you for listening. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer. Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.